international game of all time. 6-2 Dolphins, 6-2 Chiefs. Sunday morning, 9:30 a.m. Eastern time from Germany. Both teams, 4 games over 500. That's the first time that's happened in now the 49th international game in NFL history. And a look at the other primetime games, including the Bills at the Bengals Sunday night, a rematch of last year's AFC Divisional, won by Cincinnati. The Monday nighter, the Chargers at the Jets, who, despite their offensive struggles, have won 3 straight games. But the season and the week begins with the Titans and the Steelers. We have a new leader in our picks against the spread. It is Brady Quinn. Check out the week he had last week. 11-5-1. He is now over 500 and 2 games clear of Pete Prisco.
Good week, Brady. Congratulations.
Pete, it's a long season. We know that, all right? We're not satisfied. I'm trying to do the opposite of what Ryan Wilson did 2 weeks ago and try to go perfect 1 week.
Well, you know what? I'm going to say that I should have been 9-7-1 because what happened in the Bucs game was, and you got that game.
Always an excuse.
Did you have Tampa Bay?
I did have Tampa Bay.
You should no business covering that game. 0.
Well, last time I checked, it was a cover. Kudos to all those out there who also had the Tampa Bay
And
Bucs.
by the way, the Ravens, we also both had the Ravens. That was one that we should have had too and went rotten.
I don't complain about it. It was a push.
Oh, because you went 11-5. If you would have went 8-8-1, you'd be complaining about it, just like I'm complaining.
You did get one thing right. You said Will Levis would be a good NFL quarterback. He was great in his first game. How about the encore, though? Thursday Night Football has to take on that Steelers defense in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough challenge for him on a short week going up there against that defense. And why is Mike Vrabel so non-committal on him? I don't get it. I don't understand. He should just come out and say he's our quarterback. Rest of the way, he's playing. Period. End of story.
Gamesmanship. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of. After that debut, you'd think that any head coach would be like, "Yep, that's our guy. We're really excited about the prospect of what he could become," because he was phenomenal.
Did you go back and watch it on tape?
Yes.
And was it as good? I thought it was every bit as good as the numbers would indicate. People said differently. I loved it. I thought it was great.
Yeah, I mean, look, watching it in real time, I thought it was great. I went back and watched it. I was thinking, okay, like all the qualities that you're looking for that I think he exuded during his time at Kentucky, they were there. Now, the biggest thing is what's going to be the sample size. A short week to prepare. Really tough defense to go up against. And this is where I differ from you in this one. I just think it's going to be really tough for a rookie to go into Pittsburgh on the short week and be able to get a win here. So I'm laying the 2.5 points with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I also think this over-under is sitting at 36.5. Low-scoring game. I don't know that either one of these two defenses or offenses will be able to do much, but I do think the Steelers will cover the number.
I'll take the Titans here. I think we saw something with that team kind of rally around him last week. And how healthy is Pickett? That's the question, too. I mean, on the other side, he's banged up. He says he's playing, but one hit to those ribs. You've had rib injury, I imagine, in your day.
Shoot him up.
Yeah.
That's what I used to do. You would shoot up with Novocaine right before.
Does it affect you in any way, shape, or form throwing the football?
Not when it's numb like that. It's not good. But trust me, it affects every single moment throughout the course of the week when you're trying to sleep or do anything else. That part of your week's miserable. When you get to the game, you're excited about the fact that you get to numb up those ribs and go play.
Creaky old man, he'll take some of that right now.
Kenny Pickett, by the way, has been great in primetime, 5-1 straight up in his short career. Moving to that Sunday morning game from Germany, 9:30 a.m. Eastern time. It's Tyreek Hill's first game against his former team.
I can't wait to see how Kansas City tries to take him away, what Steve Spagnuolo and the defense have in store for him. Obviously, they had him for such a long period of time. They probably think they've got at least some tricks up their sleeve as far as the weaknesses that maybe they see in Tyreek Hill's game or maybe even in Mike McDaniel's offense. That being said, I think this is more about the Chiefs and being a bounce-back game. Based on their performance last week versus the Broncos, I think the offense is going to get it together versus the Miami Dolphins. But I love the over. I mean, I think this number is a bit low. I know it's in a different country, different times, all those things that play a factor. I love the over, but I'll lay the 2.5 points in the Chiefs here.
I'll take the Chiefs as well, and I do think it's also going over. I just think that you're right. They're going to bounce back. They can't play like they did last week. They're too good a football team, and there are ways to exploit that Miami offense, one being knock him on his butt, and I think the Chiefs can get after the quarterback with Chris Jones. Miami's offensive line hasn't been great. They've had banged up on that side of the ball, so I'm in agreement with you. I think the Chiefs find a way to win this game.
There's a 4-way tie atop the AFC right now. Those are 2 of the 4 teams at 6-2. A couple other teams right in that mix. The Bills and the Bengals. This is Sunday Night Football in Cincinnati. Joe Burrow is finally playing the way we expected him to play. What about the Buffalo Bills, though?
Yeah, this is a game to me, I almost want to say, I don't want to say get right game, but this is one of those challenges. When you look at the Bills and Bengals, those are the two contenders trying to knock each other off to fight the Kansas City Chiefs, if you will, in the AFC. And this is a statement game, I think, for the Bills. It's going to be a tight one. Probably comes down to whoever has the football last. I think that's going to be the Bills. And so I'll take the 2.5 points here. But my favorite bet is, again, the over. Very similar to what we just talked about in the last pick between Dolphins and Chiefs. This is going to be a high-scoring game. This number looks low to me. I know the conditions are starting to get in the way of things, especially in that part of the country. I love the over here, but I'll take the 2.5 points in Buffalo.
I will, too. I'm going to take Buffalo. I don't know if they're going to win the game, but I'm with you in agreement that it's going to be high-scoring, and last one with the ball probably wins it. And they might win it, but if they lose it, it might be a point or 2 points, so I'm going to take the 2.5. I think Buffalo's starting to feel themselves a little bit. What they did with Gabe Davis last week was important. Normally he's a deep threat. In his target area, his yards came down. They used him in a different way.
Right.
They got him involved, and I think that's big for their offense, so I'll take Buffalo.
The addition of Rasul Douglas, too, to help out on defense, to me, gives you a little bit of hope, I think, if you're a Bills fan, with how decimated that defense has been.
All right, let's move to Monday Night Football. It's the Chargers at 3-4. It's the Jets who are looking for a 4th straight victory. If the Chargers win this game, they'll have the same exact record in the AFC. Which team right now would you say has a better chance of making the playoffs?
Oh, that's a tough one to answer.
It is.
I would probably say the Chargers, but I don't see them covering this one. I think this is going to be an ugly game. I'm just telling you right now, it's going to be an ugly, low-scoring game. I think defense is going to play a huge factor in this. And look at Zach Wilson. Say whatever you want. He has matured to a quarterback that's now helping this team win. We could talk about the formatic stuff at the end of the game with the officials. Zach Wilson made enough plays to put his team in a position to extend the game, take it to overtime, get the win. He's playing good football right now. And if you're a Jets fan, you got to be excited about the fact that he's growing into the position. And it's going to be Rodgers' team when he comes back. But for right now, he's given them a chance at being a playoff team. So I'll take the 3 points in the home underdog here, but I love the under in this game.
Are you saying when he comes back this season, Rodgers?
Well, I mean, he's already throwing in warm-ups. We've never seen anything like this.
It's incredible.
Okay.
You're right about Zach Wilson. He's playing good football for him. I mean, you got to put the qualifier around it. But he did a nice job at the end of the game. He made a couple throws. He got outside the pocket, threw into the middle of the field, and then they spiked the ball. It was a good end of game for him, but they still didn't score any points. They're not scoring points. I think Chargers go in there and win. I'm bucking the Brandon Staley train here. I'm going with the Chargers. I know somehow, some way he's going to make me pay for this pick, but I'm taking the Chargers anyway.
You're the bush. All the Chargers fans out there, he's going to go ahead and blame Pete Prisco if they lose this game.
He's going to go for it on 4th and 2 at the his own 22 at some point in the game.
You're the mush, I'm telling you right now. You're a Chargers fan's worst nightmare.
No, I'm taking them. I think they win this game.
All right, those are the primetime games along with the international game on Sunday, which is the game of the week between the Dolphins and the Bills. They agree, Dolphins and Chiefs rather, they agree on the Chiefs minus 2.5 in that game. They also agree on the Bills plus 2.5 at Cincinnati. There are teams on byes again this week and several good ones like the Jags, 49ers, and Lions. The Broncos also on a bye this week. HQ presented by Penske, and a look at the early slate Sunday on CBS. Headlined by the Seahawks and the Ravens. That is an interesting matchup in Baltimore. Lamar Jackson playing great football, MVP level football. Seahawks just continue to win. Let's pick them. We've got Pete Prisco, we've got Brady Quinn, and the Ravens laying 5.5 at home. Lamar Jackson, by the way, 17-1 in his career against NFC teams.
Yeah, this is always a tough, for any team coming across the West Coast. Early start, 1 p.m. Eastern start for them. But it's going to be a difficult challenge because the Ravens are one of the best teams in football right now. Their offense has scored 24 or more points the last 3 games. The defense is putting pressure on opponents, and this offense is starting to click now. And I think the problem for me with the Seahawks is you go back to last week, they were on fire at the beginning of that game. at home versus Cleveland, one of the best defenses. And then it went dormant until really the end of the game until they had to make some plays, and they did. This one's going to be a fun one. I like the over. I think there'll be some scoring in this one, but I'm laying the 5.5 points in Baltimore. I think it's a tough trip for Seattle.
It really is a tough trip for Seattle, and early start, like you mentioned, and the way Lamar Jackson's playing. Yeah, he wasn't great early in that game last week, but they got it going at one point, and I think they found something with that offense, and he's starting to look comfortable in the Todd Monken system. I think he's going to throw for a lot of yards in this game. I agree with you, it's going to be a high-scoring game, but I'll take Baltimore as well.
Ravens up to number 2 in your power rankings this week.
They're number 1 defense in the league, too.
Yeah, number 1 defense and Lamar Jackson playing like an MVP. That's a great combination. Another game, CBS, 1 o'clock Eastern on Sunday, the Cardinals at the Browns. Cards expected to start 5th-round pick Clayton Tune out of Houston after trading Josh Dobbs.
Yeah, and look, this is, to me, more of Browns at home. That defense, the rushing attack, doesn't matter who's at quarterback at this point. They'll take care of business, I think, versus the Cardinals.
Who's starting a quarterback for them?
I don't know, but again, they're taking on Clayton Tune. So at this point in time, you'd have to say, I'll lay the 7.5 points here. The Browns are a good football team. If they just don't turn the football over at the quarterback spot, they're probably winning more games, and they have a different record right now. But I'll lay the 7.5 here, and I think the Browns do a decent amount of scoring, not so much for the Cardinals. Enough that I think this game actually hits the over because of the type of performance the Browns put on.
Or if they run the ball last week on 3rd down and punt the Seahawks in, maybe they win that game as well.
Well, we were on opposite sides of that game, right?
Yeah, I think so. I had Cleveland.
You did. I had Seattle.
Yeah, you know. Hey, some you win, some
we're on the same side this time, though.
Yeah, I'm with the Browns as well. I think the Browns will handle Clayton Tune. And again, no matter who plays quarterback, they have to start scoring more points. I think there's going to be an opportunity. Arizona's kind of come back to earth a little bit. They play hard. Don't get me wrong. They still play hard and tough, but they're limited what they have in terms of talent. So I think that shows up in this one.
I know Kyler Murray's coming back. It does have to be a little disappointing for guys in the locker room when you look at the way Josh Dobbs, who got in the right at the beginning of the season, the way he played, the way he competed, and then you ship him off. It's just...
Well, he was terrible the last 4 games.
You're saying terrible. He wasn't terrible. He allowed them to still be competitive. Say what you want.
Okay, in 3 of the 4 games, he didn't even throw for 200 yards.
I understand, but he's not playing with the same thing that he's going to have in Minnesota. We've been over this.
Right.
He's got a different...
I know, you're big on Josh Dobbs. I'm not.
I think there's a reason why Minnesota made the room for him.
The quarterback defender.
Does he give them a better opportunity to win this game than Clayton Tune?
Who? Does who?
The Josh Dobbs. What do you?
We don't know what Clayton Tune is.
Okay. So you're saying Clayton Tune's got a better shot?
I don't know. We have no idea what he is.
Okay, so you're skirting the question. You don't want to answer the question?
I mean, Josh Dobbs the last 4 games has not been good. Maybe Clayton Tune is good.
Let's get to the next game. I'm curious to see what you got on this one.
Playing to the tune of the quarterback alarm. Rams, Packers. Let's sound the Pete Prisco going down with the ship alarm here. Because you just continue to take the Packers now off to their worst start since 2005.
Didn't you say you're going to bring out a shovel and bury them if they lost this past week to the Vikings?
This is the bury game.
Oh, this is it now.
This is the bury. I promise you next week they will be buried if they lose this game.
They're 2-5.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing with the Rams, though. They're playing consecutive road games, which is always tough. A. B. Matt Stafford's banged up. He's hurting.
Hurt his hand. Yeah.
And that's a problem for them. If he can't play, I think the Packers will show up and play and win this game. I'll take the Packers. Yep. Last time.
We're going to need to put this on like some sort of reel and repeat here. Look, yeah, it hasn't been a good history for Matt Stafford at Lambeau Field. I don't even know that he needs to have a big one in this case. If the Rams can run the football effectively, and really it's more about their defense. Can their defense stop an offense that's really struggled for Green Bay of late? If there was ever a get-right game, this might be it, with the exception of the fact that you got to figure out and have a game plan for Aaron Donald. Outside of that, though, I'll take the 3 points. Again, we talked about the Rams this entire season have been more competitive than we thought. I'm not saying they win this one. I think they keep this one close, and this is one where, again, I think Matt Stafford will make enough throws to keep them in this game.
Last week they weren't competitive.
They tied for the second worst loss of the McVay era last week against the Cowboys. Vikings and Falcons, quarterback matchup here. Taylor Heineke for the Falcons. And the Vikings likely going to start Jaron Hall, the BYU rookie, with Josh Dobbs kind of waiting in the wing.
Look, I'm going to roll with the Vikings and the points here because you really don't know what to expect. I mean, I think if you look at Taylor Heineke from last week, he played well when he came in spot duty, and maybe that's what Arthur Smith is expecting out of this. But a lot of challenge when you face that Vikings defense, the way they pressure and the different looks they give you. I think this is a game where the Vikings are going to try to run the football. They're not going to ask the rookie to do too much. They'll take their shots when they're there. This one is one that I think stays close. So I'll take the 5.5 points in the Vikings.
I'll take the Falcons. And can you imagine if you bought these tickets tickets thinking you're going to see good quarterback play, and you end up seeing Jaron Hall against Taylor Heineke.
Well, I mean, at best, it would have been Cousins against Desmond Ritter.
Well,
So, I mean,
at least Cousins
was playing
really well.
Yeah.
I mean, and you're seeing Jaron Hall make his first NFL start against Taylor Heineke, who's a journeyman. If you looked if you look journeyman up in the dictionary's picture's right there. That's what he is. He's a journeyman quarterback. He's a backup quarterback. Having said all that, he will find a way to win the game.
Well, yeah, he can win, but are they just going to cover?
Yes, they will.
Because it's 5.5 points.
Okay, win and cover.
It's not a pick and beat.
After I saw what Jaron Hall did last week when he went in, I would lay 10 in this game.
You wonder,
Lay 10.
do you think you guys think Dobbs will play in this game?
I don't. I mean,
hard,
it's
right?
so tough in such a short time span to learn that offense. But again, he's a former aerospace engineer. He's going to learn this offense. He'll be able to play it.
We're both in the rocket scientist club, me and him, by the way.
Oh, you two? Is that what you did?
Really?
Yeah. I majored in aerospace engineering.
You're kidding me.
Yes, he is.
I didn't think Arizona State had anything like that. Underwater basket weaving is about all they had. Bears and Saints. Boy, you guys were right on the money with the Saints last week. You guys loved that play. I thought it was crazy. Saints took care of business. Now Tyson Bagent coming in off the rough second outing for the Bears.
Yeah, and look, again, another tough challenge playing in New Orleans, that environment, that defense, and this offense for New Orleans is starting to figure some things out. So I'm going to lay the 7.5 points here. I think the Saints take care of business, and they keep trying to fight for that top spot in the NFC South, which is currently owned by the Falcons. But I think as the Saints build momentum, you see why they were the favorite coming into the season.
Tyson Bagent, you are what you are. We saw it the other day. You're there for a reason. That's why you were not drafted. I mean, look, you come in for a game, you do some good things, but then reality sets in and you become who you are. Derek Carr actually looked like an NFL quarterback last week. We should clap for him because that was a big step forward for him.
Didn't have to point any fingers.
No, he wasn't. He wasn't screaming at anybody. He actually played well, and I think that carries over. I'm with you. I'll take the Saints.
All right, let's move on to a team that's been in the mix, and I guess still is in the NFC South, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, though they've struggled. They've lost 3 straight. They haven't even led in any of those games, now on the road against Houston.
I'm going to take the Houston Texans in the 3 points here. I know last week wasn't a great showing versus the Carolina Panthers. I think they get back on track here. A little concerned with where the Bucs are going right now on this 3-game skid. I think if there was any game you would pick to say, well, this is that moment, they've got to get things right, this would be that. But I don't see it happening. C.J. Stroud's played really well this season. I think he'll be able to make some plays and throws against the Bucs defense. So I'm going to take the 3 points. I also like the under. I think it's a lower scoring game given the struggles of both offenses.
I'm getting 3 points. The Bucs are giving.
I'm giving.
Yeah, you're giving. I'm getting. I'm taking the Bucs. I think the time off will have extra time off. You mentioned C.J. Stroud. He wasn't great last week.
Who would you rather have, Stroud or Levis?
My initial evaluation was Levis. I stick to it. Stroud's played better. He's played more. I mean, obviously, he's been off to a great start. He's been the Rookie of the Year so far. But he wasn't that great last week, and they kind of came back down to reality a little bit. I think the Bucs defense, this is desperation time for Tampa. They have to find a way to limit that offense, and I think Baker Mayfield will play well. I'll take the Bucs. I think they win the game.
Okay. Let's move on to the Commanders and Patriots. Commanders, a pseudo fire sale before the deadline this week. They send out Montez Sweat and Chase Young, and now going to face New England, getting 3.5.
Yeah, and you get concerned about how the locker room reacts to something like that. Those are 2 guys who had 11.5 sacks. Not saying that Casey Tuhill can't step in or Smith Williams too off the edge. Those guys now get their opportunity, but those 2 have only 5 sacks combined on the season so far. So this line initially opened at 2. I think when you looked at the trade too of Montez Sweat and Chase Young, then it jumped to 3.5. So I just think the Patriots at home, too tough of a pick to go up against them. So I'll lay the 3.5 points here. And look, that over-under set at 40.5. I'd lean towards the over. Don't feel great about it necessarily, but I feel like both these teams will be able to score against each defense.
It's not like the Commanders' defense was any damn good with those 2 on the field. They've been terrible all year long. I mean, they can't be much worse.
Still getting pressure.
But they can't be much worse. And then you hear reports of Chase Young was being disruptive around the locker room. You're rolling your eyes. I'm just saying. I mean, look, bottom line is I'm not taking the Commanders here. Their defense has been off all year. And New England's offense has been bad, so something has to give. I'll take the home team when you're in that case. I'll take New England minus.
Okay, so both on New England there. Also agree on the Saints, Browns, and Ravens in that early slate on Sunday. Speaking of early, how about the Early Edge podcast hosted by Pete?
Coach.
The coach. Jonathan Coachman. It's your daily wagering podcast from Sportsline. Picking every game against the spread, as we always do with Pete Prisco and Brady Quinn. And it's a light afternoon slate with 4 more teams on byes this week. The lone CBS late slate game is in the Indianapolis and Carolina markets. The Colts at the Panthers. Bryce Young coming off his first win. You got the Raiders now without Josh McDaniels cleaning house this week, hosting the Giants. And the big one, Cowboys at Eagles. And that is where we start. First matchup between these two teams this season, and the Eagles laying 3 at home.
Yeah, look, and right now, Pete, you've got the Eagles as the #1 team in your power rankings.
And the Cowboys at 4. I mean, that's pretty high, too.
It's pretty high, and it's pretty interesting, too, that Pete is not taking the Eagles in this matchup, even though Philly's playing at home, laying 3. I know Jalen Hurts isn't 100%, but they're still finding production, finding big plays from A.J. Brown. And I know their defense, as at times in their secondary, they've had their issues. I think this is one of those statement wins, statement games for the Eagles. And if they're going to split, I don't think they're winning in Philly. So I'll lay the 3 points here. I think these are 2 of the top teams in the NFC. May as well see them, potentially trying to bid for going into the Super Bowl. We'll see how all that plays out. But I think there's going to be a lot of scoring in this one, and I'll lay the 3 points with Philly.
So basically, the lines makers say these teams are even.
Yeah, based on the 3 points. Sure.
Yeah, and I think the way Dallas is playing, we saw good things from Dak Prescott in the passing game last week.
We did.
This is a big moment for Dak Prescott.
Look what he's done against the Eagles the last 8 times he's played them.
And I think he's going to continue that here. I think he's going to play well. I think the Eagles' defense has major problems right now, particularly the corners. Bradbury and Slay are not playing close to their names. I can tell you that right now. It's more name than game for both of them. I think he's going to take advantage of it. I like the Cowboys. I think the Cowboys win the game outright.
Wow. Is
Really?
that the headline, more name than game? Is that what you're trying to say?
You love that line.
He does.
I love that line.
Hey.
Huge stretch for the Eagles.
You are what you are.
For a guy who's given the Dallas Cowboys so many passes this year. And
2 mulligans. Gave him 2 mulligans.
Unbelievable.
That's why they're up so high.
They won't need a mulligan. They won't need a mulligan on Sunday. They're winning.
Listen to the next 6 opponents for the Eagles. Cowboys twice, Chiefs, Bills, 49ers, Seahawks. That's the next 6 opponents for the Eagles.
Better fix that defense.
Yeah, I'll say. All right, also at the late window on Sunday, but at 4:25 Eastern time as well. Giants at Raiders. Raiders, first game since firing Josh McDaniels. Aiden O'Connell is going to start. Yeah.
The rookie who's got a little bit of time this year, so he's got some experience. This, to me, isn't so much about Aiden O'Connell. I think it's about Antonio Pierce taking over as a coach. We see sometimes, too, locker rooms get inspired by that. They play inspired. And this defense has been playing well for the Raiders this year. They just need to stop turning over the football, and they need to take advantage of the opportunities that were there. There were too many times Jimmy Garoppolo had Devontae Adams, in particular, this past week, wide open and just not connecting on those plays. I think they find a way of winning and covering this number. Obviously, the Giants' offense has struggled. They get Daniel Jones back, and their defense has played well. But this is one where I think the Raiders take care of business at home.
The Giants are awful on offense. I don't care who plays quarterback. They've struggled. The offensive line's a disaster. Crosby might have 4 sacks in this game, forced 2 fumbles, short fields, turn them into points. And you do get the bump from the new coach. I think you get a little bit of a bump. They did not like Josh McDaniels. Those players did not like him. I think they'll rally around Antonio Pierce. I think they win this game and cover the number.
Okay, and again, as Brady said, Daniel Jones is a full go at practice once again and is expected to start. The lone CBS game in the late window, 4:05 Eastern, Colts laying 2.5 in Carolina against the Panthers. Bryce Young just got his first win.
He got his first win, playing some good football. I know it wasn't necessarily lighting the world on fire, but they get a win. And I think you're starting to see the strides that he's going to make as the first overall pick, what he's capable of as a quarterback within an offense that, look, is somewhat limited more because of their personnel. That being said, I'll take the 2.5 points here. The Panthers being that home underdog. I think they've found that winning formula. The Colts, on the other hand, I worry about that defense giving up some big plays, in particular to Bryce Young and a team that hasn't been able to stretch the field vertically as much. I think they do in this one. So I think the Panthers not only cover, they outright win.
There are 3 things you can count on every Sunday in the NFL. Rick Spielman butchering a name or a couple, me complaining about a bad beat, and Gardner Minshew turning the ball over 3 times at least to the opposition. He is feast or famine. He giveth and he taketh. He's terrible at times on the field, and I think that shows up in this game. I'll take Bryce Young. You mentioned Bryce Young. He looked really good in that last drive.
He did.
He looked like he had command of the offense. It was a big moment for him. I think that carries over.
We're starting to get that second half of the season where you see those sorts of things take place for rookies.
Got about 45 seconds for your best bets. Pete, you're picking a game in that late window that we just talked about.
I'm going with the Cowboys. They win the game outright. I don't need the 3 points. Take them. The money line, Dallas, Dak Prescott. This is his moment. He's going to have the big moment on the road in a big game in a national spotlight.
We'll see. I'm sure I have an excuse next week. I'll get the Browns laying 7.5 versus the Arizona Cardinals, and Clayton Tune, the rookie, getting a start on the road. That defense gets this team. Lay the 7.5 points. Don't worry about it.
And it doesn't even matter who's starting at quarterback.
Does
for the Browns.
not matter for the Browns.
All right.